The 20th century marked a period of remarkable transformation across the globe, including in regions previously seen as culturally homogeneous. Japan, historically rooted in Shinto and Buddhist traditions, witnessed a surprising and noteworthy development: the steady and rapid growth of Islam. Though the Muslim population in Japan remains relatively small compared to other nations, the 20th century was pivotal in laying the foundations for the presence and expansion of Islam in Japanese society. This video explores the emergence and growth of Islam in Japan during the 20th century, highlighting the socio-political catalysts, key individuals, migrant communities, and the role of global Islamic networks in shaping this phenomenon. Early encounters and pre-20th century context. Before the 20th century, Islam had limited direct contact with Japan. The earliest records of interaction trace back to the late 19th century, when Japanese intellectuals and travelers encountered Muslims during diplomatic missions or academic exchanges in the Ottoman Empire and India. These encounters sparked curiosity, but did not yet translate into the formation of an indigenous Muslim community in Japan. The turning point came in the early 1900s, a time when Japan was rapidly modernizing and expanding its political and military influence across Asia. Its growing contact with the Muslim world, particularly during the Russo-Japanese War, 1904-1905, which was widely celebrated in Muslim countries as an Asian victory against European imperialism, enhanced Japan's image among Muslims and facilitated mutual interest. This geopolitical positioning contributed to a hospitable environment for early Muslim migrants and scholars in Japan. The role of the Russo-Japanese War. The Russo-Japanese War marked a critical juncture in Muslim-Japanese relations. Muslims from the Ottoman Empire, South Asia, and Central Asia viewed Japan's military success as a symbol of non-Western resilience. Consequently, Japan became a subject of admiration and curiosity in Muslim lands. Japanese scholars and Pan-Asianists like Shumei Okawa and others began to explore Islam as a spiritual and ideological force, capable of countering Western colonialism. This mutual interest laid the groundwork for early Islamic institutions and translations of Islamic texts into Japanese. It also led to the development of political sympathy and intellectual engagement between Japanese elites and Muslim thinkers. The arrival of the Tatar Muslims. One of the most significant developments in the early 20th century was the migration of Tatar Muslims from Russia to Japan. Following the Russian Revolution of 1917 and the Bolshevik crackdown on religious communities, many Tatars fled to neighboring countries. A small group of them, mainly from the Volga-Ural region, settled in cities like Kobe, Yokohama, and Tokyo. The Tatars played a central role in establishing the physical and institutional presence of Islam in Japan. They built the first mosques, such as the Kobe Mosque, 1935, which remains active today. They also established religious schools, madrasas, published Islamic literature in Japanese and Tatar, and engaged in outreach activities. Through these efforts, Tatars became the de facto leaders of the nascent Muslim community in Japan. Importantly, the Tatars also sought to integrate with Japanese society, adopting the Japanese language and respecting local customs while maintaining their religious identity. Their efforts helped foster a more nuanced understanding of Islam among native Japanese, dispelling myths and laying a foundation for interfaith dialogue. Japanese conversions to Islam. The 20th century also saw the first wave of Japanese converts to Islam, many of whom were intellectuals, diplomats, or scholars intrigued by Islamic teachings and impressed by the discipline and ethical system it offered. One of the most prominent converts was Umar Mita, born Satoshi Mita, a Japanese scholar who embraced Islam in 1941. He later translated the Quran into Japanese, an effort that had a profound impact on Japanese Muslim identity and Dawah efforts. Mita's translation, completed in the 1970s, remains one of the most widely used Japanese versions of the Quran. His scholarly rigor and ability to bridge cultural and linguistic divides made Islam more accessible to Japanese readers. Other notable converts included military officers who had served in Muslim-majority regions and returned to Japan with a newfound respect for the Islamic faith. World War II and state strategy. During the 1930s and 1940s, Japan's imperial ambitions extended into Southeast Asia, bringing it into direct contact with large Muslim populations in Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. Japanese military authorities sought to exploit Islam as a unifying ideological force against Western colonial powers. In occupied territories, Japanese forces encouraged Islamic education and sometimes portrayed themselves as allies of Muslims against European domination. While these efforts were politically motivated, they nonetheless contributed to a deeper Japanese understanding of Islamic culture and theology. Some Japanese soldiers converted to Islam during their postings abroad and continued practicing after the war, adding to the small but growing Muslim demographic in Japan. Post-war developments and the growth of Muslim migration. Following Japan's defeat in World War II and its subsequent economic recovery, the country entered a new phase of globalization. From the 1970s onward, Japan's industrial boom attracted foreign workers, students and entrepreneurs, including many from Muslim-majority countries such as Pakistan, Iran, Indonesia and Bangladesh. These new migrants often came for business, education or labor opportunities and brought with them diverse Islamic practices and traditions. As a result, mosques and halal markets began to appear in various cities. The Tokyo Kami, originally built by the Tatars in 1938 and later reconstructed with Turkish support in 2000, emerged as a major center for Islamic worship and education. Muslim student associations also flourished in Japanese universities, offering platforms for dawah, cultural exchange, and community support. Organizations like the Japan Muslim Association, founded in 1953, and the Islamic Center Japan, founded in 1966, played a vital role in coordinating religious activities, offering educational resources, and serving as intermediaries between Muslims and broader Japanese society. Challenges and misconceptions. Despite its growth, Islam in Japan faces ongoing challenges. Public understanding of Islam remains limited, and Muslims often confront cultural and linguistic barriers. Halal food, prayer spaces, and Islamic schools are still relatively rare outside major urban centers. Moreover, global events, such as the 9/11 attacks and subsequent Islamophobic narratives, have sometimes led to suspicion or stereotyping of Muslims in Japan. Nevertheless, Japanese Muslims and their allies continue to work toward greater inclusion and awareness. Interfaith dialogues, open mosque events, and academic initiatives have helped bridge gaps and challenge misconceptions. Some Japanese media and scholars have also begun to approach Islam with more objectivity, recognizing its ethical depth and cultural richness. The 21st century legacy of 20th century growth. By the end of the 20th century, Islam in Japan had moved from obscurity to recognition, albeit modestly. There are now over 100 mosques across the country, and a Muslim population estimated to be between 100,000 to 200,000, including both foreign-born Muslims and Japanese converts. While small, this community is vibrant, diverse, and increasingly integrated into Japanese society. The legacy of the 20th century lies not just in the numbers, but in the deepening of cultural ties, the establishment of enduring institutions, and the emergence of a uniquely Japanese expression of Islam. This includes a growing number of Japanese-language Islamic resources, interfaith collaborations, and cultural adaptations that make Islam accessible within Japan's social context. The growth of Islam in Japan during the 20th century is a remarkable example of how global religious traditions can take root in new cultural environments through a combination of migration, intellectual engagement, and spiritual inquiry. From the arrival of Tatar refugees to the rise of Japanese converts and the influx of migrant workers, the development of Islam in Japan illustrates a dynamic interplay between faith and identity in an increasingly interconnected world. Though still a minority religion, Islam's presence in Japan is now firmly established, enriched by its diverse adherents and shaped by the country's unique historical trajectory. As Japan continues to engage with the global community, the Muslim population will likely play an even more visible and constructive role in its cultural and spiritual landscape.